Coming up on Network Africa, tight security in Mogadishu as the new Somali president is inaugurated. People of Congo express hope and gratitude for King Philippe's speech that addressed regrets of Belgium's exploitation during colonial rule. Plus, Ryanair airline stands by its South African language quiz despite outcry from passengers. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Somalia, in the capital Mogadishu, where the inauguration of the president is taking place. President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed has been sworn in. Main roads in Mogadishu were closed on Wednesday, with police deployed in large numbers and armored vehicles on the streets leading to the presidential palace. The city was put under a curfew overnight. Leaders from Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Egypt arrived for the ceremony this morning. Djibouti's leader, Ismail Gula, and Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta say they hope to reset ties with the new Somali administration. Well, after the inauguration, the new president is expected to name a prime minister who will form a new government. Kenya's electoral agency says an ongoing audit of its voters' roll has found the names of nearly 250,000 deceased voters on the register. Nearly 500,000 more voters were found to have duplicate records, and more than 226,000 people were registered using documents that do not belong to them. Others had registered with invalid documents. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission said this in a statement on the anomalies that affect more than 1 million people. Well, Kenya will be heading to the polls later on in August. Well, back here in Nigeria, the National Security Council has announced that the Islamic State West African province is responsible for the attack of St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, that led to the death of about 38 persons on June 5th. Briefing State House correspondents after a National Security Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari today, the Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, disclosed that security agencies, particularly the police, have been directed to apprehend the perpetrators. Mr. Aregbesola underscored that the attack has no ethnic religious connection, affirming that the group's activity has nothing to do with religion. The council, according to him, is also concerned about the killings in the name of blasphemy and has directed the security agencies to go after perpetrators of both incidents that occurred in Sokoto State and Abuja recently. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Usman Alkali Baba, equally noted the imprints of the perpetrators of the Owo killings have been identified, and although no arrests have been made, security agencies are now zeroing in on them. President Nana Akufo-Addo of Ghana is calling on Africans to work together to change the narrative of instability, disease, poverty, hunger, and illegal mass migration portrayed on the continent. Mr. Akufo-Addo instead says Africa should be known for progress, wealth, and prosperity. Mr. Akufo-Addo, who was speaking at an event put together by the Metropolitan Club, which is exclusive to Channels Television, says the region needs effective political leadership to make bold, transformative changes.
Unconstitutional regime changes retard the growth of countries. As much as the drivers are largely domestic, the international dimension can also not be overlooked. Foreign involvement in fomenting unconstitutional changes, often in favor of repressive governments, foreign economic interests, and other would-be geopolitical benefits are also contributory factors. Some foreign entities regard coups in African countries as a means of enhancing their regional ambitions. As such, they engage in all sorts of disinformation campaigns in a bid to disparage the authority of democratically elected governments and instigate opposition protests against incumbents. In implementing existing continental and regional instruments and protocols, defaulting member states are condemned and suspended from the activities of continental and regional bodies, and individual coup makers are sanctioned. However, the reality is that these sanctions have not been applied uniformly. Whilst we are quick to sanction military coup leaders, civilians who achieve similar ends via the manipulation of constitutions to remain in power, for example, go without sanctions, although their actions are clearly prohibited in our legal instruments. This means that the existing frameworks need to be strengthened to capture such infractions. Ladies and gentlemen, it is crucial that we work together to change the African narrative, which has been characterized too often by a concentration on instability, disease, hunger, poverty, and illegal mass migration. We must help make Africa the place for investment, progress, and prosperity, and not from where our youth flee in the hope of accessing the mirage of better lives in Europe or the Americas. Our problem over the years, I suggest, has been leadership. The implementation of plans in ECOWAS, for example, has been left to well-meaning technocrats and bureaucrats. However well-meaning they may be, our region cannot make the bold, transformative changes it needs to make without effective political leadership. We need leadership that is focused on the region and not on individual countries. The European Union took off because essentially the political leadership of France and Germany decided to make it work.
Or as they had promised, South African opposition party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, EFF, have disrupted President Cyril Ramaphosa's presentation of the presidency budget proposal to Parliament. Or for almost 1.5 hours, the EFF members used the point of order to interrupt President Ramaphosa's speech, demanding that he answers to allegations of money laundering leveled against him. Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkakula insisted that was not part of the day's agenda and had some of the erring members removed from the chambers. The president has come under fire after a former spy boss laid a criminal complaint against him over a robbery incident at his farm, allegedly involving millions of US dollars, which the president did not report to the police. Parliament later calmed down and President Ramaphosa finished his presentation ahead of the debate, but the commander-in-chief of the EFF, Julius Malema, has insisted that the president owes the nation answers.
Of a shutdown to demand that the president must step aside. We don't want the president to address the budget on Thursday. The budget must be addressed by the deputy president because the president must be at the police station explaining himself. Parliament is not a place of criminals. Parliament is a place of honorable members, and therefore the president shall be treated the same way we treated the president who disrespected our constitution.
Irish airline Ryanair says it is standing by its decision to make South Africans travelling to the UK take a test in the Afrikaans language. It defended its position, saying airlines operating to the UK face fines of £2,000 per passenger for anyone who travel illegally into the country. It also cited increased cases of fraudulent South African passports being used to enter the UK. Ryanair says that South Africans who are unable to complete its general knowledge quiz about their country in Afrikaans language will be refused travel and their fares will be refunded. Or the airline has faced condemnation for requiring South Africans to take this test. The UN senior official for Africa, Martha Ama Akia, has warned the UN Security Council that some countries in Central Africa face political and security challenges that, if not addressed, this could risk impacting neighboring countries and the sub-region. Addressing the Council, she also noted that Central Africa remains one of the regions in the world most severely affected by climate change.
Some countries in the sub-region continue to face political and security challenges. In some instances, these challenges, if not addressed, could risk impacting neighboring countries and the sub-region. Central Africa remains one of the regions in the world most severely affected by climate change, and this continues to compound peace and security challenges in the sub-region. This is manifested by the intensifying clashes between farmers and herders in Chad, and farming, fishing, and herding communities in Cameroon. In the Lake Chad Basin, Boko Haram-affiliated and splinter groups, including the so-called Islamic State West Africa province, continue to prey on civilian populations. Intensified air and ground operations by Nigerian and regional military forces have reportedly killed hundreds of terrorist fighters. At the same time, thousands of former associates of Boko Haram-affiliated and splinter groups have been surrendering to authorities in Nigeria and Cameroon, where they are undergoing a screening process.
To health matters now, the World Health Organization's chief, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, says the number of reported COVID-19 cases globally and deaths continue to decline. On the other hand, more than 1,000 confirmed cases of monkeypox have now been reported to the WHO from 29 countries that are not endemic for the disease. So far, no deaths have been reported in these countries.
More than 1,000 confirmed cases of monkeypox have now been reported to WHO from 29 countries that are not endemic for the disease. So far, no deaths have been reported in these countries. Cases have been reported mainly, but not only, among men who have sex with men. Some countries are now beginning to report cases of apparent community transmission, including some cases in women. The sudden and unexpected appearance of monkeypox in several non-endemic countries suggests that there might have been undetected transmission for some time. How long? We don't know. The risk of monkeypox becoming established in non-endemic countries is real. WHO is particularly concerned about the risks of this virus for vulnerable groups, including children and pregnant women.
Provide the other 3 languages we usually have today.
3 Tanzanian soldiers fighting with the UN mission in the Democratic Republic of Congo have been injured in clashes against the M23 rebels. The UN force said that 3 were evacuated to Goma City for treatment after being injured in an attack on one of their positions in Rutshuru in the North Kivu province. One of the soldiers is said to be seriously injured. Tanzania has more than 800 soldiers among the UN forces in the DRC. The M23 has accused the army and the UN forces of choosing war instead of peace talks by jointly attacking its positions in Rutshuru. But in a new allegation, DR Congo's army in North Kivu is accusing Rwanda of deploying 500 special forces to support the rebels. However, Rwanda has firmly denied this allegation. Still to come on the program. South African company is using NFTs to sell the work of local artists. More in a moment. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the program. Belgium's King Philippe has reaffirmed his deepest regrets for the exploitation, racism, and acts of violence, he says, during his country's colonization of the Democratic Republic of Congo. However, he stopped short of formally apologizing to the country.
It was a historic visit for both King Philippe of Belgium and the people of DR Congo. The king and his wife, Queen Mathilde, landed in Kinshasa on Tuesday as it began an official 6-day visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. The royal couple were welcomed on the airport tarmac by DRC President Félix Tshisekedi and his wife before the king received military honors. Outside the airport, local residents with banners cheered as they waited to see the Belgian royals.
Despite what the Belgians did to us during colonization, we are ready to forgive. We are really happy with the arrival of the royal couple. We hope they will find a solution to the war in the East.
However, ahead of the royals' arrival, some other residents have been skeptical of their visit. Many Congolese people were also hoping for an apology. In the capital, Kinshasa, people in the streets said the visit will distract people's attention from the problems faced in the country.
I wish that the president takes care of what is important for the Congolese instead of making useless expenses by inviting the royal couple. We have important things to settle here, like free education. Teachers are not well paid, but the president prefers to invite the Belgian king. To do what? To loot us again?
The colonial past that links the two countries has not yet been forgotten. Back in 2020, King Philippe became the first Belgian official to express regret for colonization. On Wednesday, he added that his country's rule over the vast Central African country had inflicted pain and humiliation through a mixture of paternalism, discrimination, and racism.
Colonial power, the way it was based on exploitation and domination. This institution was based on an unequal relationship that we can't justify, marked by paternalism, discrimination, and racism. This power generates exactions and humiliations. For my first trip in Congo, here, as I'm facing the Congolese people, to those who today still suffer from it, I want to reaffirm my most deepest regrets for those past wounds.
And a symbolic gesture of restitution, Belgium's King Philippe returned a traditional mask, offering the initiation mask of the Suku people to Congo's National Museum as an indefinite loan. The mask has been held for decades by Belgium's Royal Museum for Central Africa.
Well, joining us now is Collins Weke, foreign policy commentator. He joins us from Brussels, Belgium. Thank you for speaking to us on the program.
Thank you, Laia, for having me.
Well, let's begin with the significance of the Belgian king's visit to the DRC, bearing in mind, the legacy of Belgium's colonial rule back in the day.
Well, this visit has been building up. I believe that it started with the statement of regrets that King Philippe issued on the occasion of the 60th anniversary of the independence of Congo. That was in 2020. And he was meant to follow it up with a visit that didn't happen as a consequence of, COVID-19. And then since that period has been, extended or postponed, rather, 3 times. But the important thing is that it's happening now. As a matter of fact, in trying to assess the significance of a visit of this nature, I think 2 things are paramount. Number one is the timing, and then secondly, the composition of the entourage. Beginning with the composition of the entourage, I believe that nothing could be faulted as far as that is concerned. The king is being accompanied on this visit by the political head of government, that is the prime minister of the country. He's the head of state as the king, and then the political, head of government, which is the prime minister, is on the entourage, and that says a lot. So it means that they are taking this at the highest level of government. Now, something that commentators have looked at as a downside to the visit is the fact that the minister or the secretary of state for development cooperation, that's international aid, is actually accompanying him, as opposed to, say, minister of the economy, where he gives the indication that the future that they want to build is actually going to be wrapped around around AIDS, rather than doing business with them. But it remains to be seen. And then also the return of an artifact actually is a very small but indeed a powerful gesture, because it tells the rest of the world, who, by the way, are increasingly beginning to return stolen artifacts from Africa. But there are a few hesitating countries, for example, the UK, that isn't, ready to do that. So by this gesture, King Philippe of Belgium is encouraging those who have, stood positive to return, to say, yes, it's a good thing to do. But for hesitating countries like the UK, it also sends the message to them that they are on their own. Now, going forward, I believe that this visit might go down in history as a journey of decolonization. The reason I say this is because, in the end, after he has, created this impetus, and the momentum is built as a consequence of this visit, that more concrete steps will now begin to, to take place, to begin to see that the decolonization process, is actively and concretely pursued between Belgium and Democratic Republic of Congo.
Mr. Weke, you're talking about, decolonization, that you see this visit as that. Many Congolese people have been expecting an apology for the colonial times, but from the king's speech, that has not come. Perhaps an apology might come or not. Just quickly and finally, how can, the country, DR Congo, heal from its devastating past?
Well, there is a technical difference between expression of deep regret, as the king has done, and tendering of outright apology. Now, an apology actually presupposes quite a number of things. For example, it opens the floodgate for, requests for restitution, financial compensation and all of that. And then, considering how long, all of these took place, you would then begin to ask the question, where does it start and where does it end? So it's a very dicey, very delicate issue. And so it doesn't surprise analysts that, he has kept it at expression of regret. Now, going forward, and I listened very carefully to the government spokesman, Patrick Mouya of Congo, that actually emphasized the fact that, Congolese are actually leaving the nostalgia behind. They are ready to now move forward in partnership with, Belgium. But, it cannot happen all by itself. It has to happen with Belgium actually doing quite a lot to show a clean break from the colonial past, the paternalism, and all the other racism and other serious matters that happen at the time. And Indeed. They can simply start that with their diaspora here. And so it's a long path, but I believe that the first steps that the king has taken are the right ones.
All right then, thank you so much, Mr. Collins Weke, foreign policy commentator. Thank you.
Always a pleasure.
And finally, on the program in South Africa, The Tree is a company that is advancing knowledge about African art and storytelling. It's forming a digital marketplace for its local artists to be able to monetize their creativity via NFTs.
Artist Fatuani Mokeli daubs yellow paint on a series of canvases, bringing 4 striking portraits of a woman into relief at his studio in Johannesburg. Paintings like these would have once been displayed in a home or gallery, but these days Mokeli, a South African artist, has made thousands of dollars by digitally minting them for patrons who can also hang them in their virtual world. This is possible through a new platform called The Tree, a South African online marketplace that allows locals to promote and sell their art as digital assets without the vast energy typically used in blockchain transactions.
As an artist, NFTs contribute to add on to my exposure, to spread my footprint as an artist, and also allows me to be in spaces I never thought I would be in. You know, I mean, there's a virtual world right now. People are buying land in it, and your art can be on those walls. It can be displayed on those walls. People who have properties there, or if there's like a stadium or a game, you can also have people buying your art and putting it there, and you make revenue. I mean, there's advertising space in this virtual world. There's everything we need in this current world is also needed that side.
Mokeli's customers receive both the actual canvas and the digital receipt known as non-fungible token NFT, while other artists on The Tree sell up to 5 limited edition NFTs for each piece.
And that's it on the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Bye for now.